This afternoon I'm making a set of table legs. This is one side of the table legs complete. They're pretty easy to understand how it works. That's the bottom, these are the sides, here's the top. This will bolt into a piece of butcher block that my buddy has, that he has legs for right now, but that aren't quite doing what he wants them to do. I'm wearing gloves because it's a little bit dirty, and I'm going to be touching all these and then going back and forth to my camera. I wouldn't recommend welding in nitrile gloves. So he has the same dimension legs, but he bought them from someone who's fabricating them and just gave them outside dimensions. Didn't say that was going to be for a coffee table, and so the flat bar, was when you bolt into the main aspect of the butcher block, is actually on the side. So it looks a little bit wonky, and he's hoping to alleviate that with some new legs. So this flat top bar is a 1/4 inch by 4 inch flat bar. We're gonna have holes set in 4 inches. We'll probably do 3/8 inch holes and use brass anchors in the wood and then bolt straight into that. This is 1.5 inch by 4 inch rectangular tube with, I want to say, a 14 inch sidewall. So it'll be pretty sturdy once all put together. We have the one done and I have the material cut for the next one. And we're gonna walk through fabricating that today, how you would keep it square, just some minor notes here and there, as well as, what is the point of this video? We're just gonna make these legs, I guess, that's what it is. So, the legs he has right now don't have a cross member, so we're also gonna put a cross member in. This is 1.5 inch by 2 inch, so we could have used the full length piece that is the same size. It would have been bulkier, would have cost a little more because this is kind of hard to find material. I happen to get these as drops, but to buy it new would have been sort of a nightmare. 4x2 is not hard to find, but 4x1.5 inch is just a little bit harder to get. So I have one of these cleaned up and one of them not cleaned up. This is 1.5 inch by 1/8 inch flat bar. These are gonna be our end pieces. We'll drill holes in this and they will sit there and get welded to the cross member. That'll stop the table from having side sway, and we're making it a bolt-in application because, you know, it makes it easier to move around. If you wanted to, you could break the entire table down, unbolt it from the top, and unbolt it there, and you basically have 4 flat things that can stack together pretty easily and kind of go well together. So we're gonna jump into fabricating this. I have the material cut for it. We're gonna go over to the table. We'll tack it there, make sure it's square. We're gonna have to here, make sure it's square again, weld it up. After that, we're going to take this piece and the other piece and we'll drill it out a little bigger, weld nuts so that they're recessed so they're not visible, and then we'll be able to have this piece welded to that and then bolt it straight into these, and then that's basically it. The table today, the butcher block is 3 feet by 6 feet. It comes in 4 inches on each side, so this, 36 minus 8, we have 28 inch outside to outside dimension here. It's 6 feet long and it only comes in 2 inches, and he wanted to maintain those dimensions. He seemed to like them in his kitchen, so we're not going to change anything, which means that from outside to outside, looking at 6 feet minus 2 inches on each side, 5 foot 8 inches. This inside piece is 5 feet minus, this is an 1/8 plus that 1/8, so it's 5 feet minus 1/4. So pretty close to 5 feet. I put this one together and laid it out so I could cut some B-roll in of me drilling this. The other one we'll bring over to our drill press. We'll drill that out. We'll probably drill all of that out too before we weld it together. But without further ado, here we go. Okay, so we're over the drill press. It's a Wen, W-E-N. I want to say we paid like 130 bucks for this. It drills steel, okay. For small stuff like this, it works fine. Here's a 5/16 inch drill bit, and here's the fasteners we're gonna be using. There's not a ton of play there, but we should have plenty of room with the 5/16. If we need to go bigger, we can always drill it out a little bigger with the 3/8, and it'll be just fine. So I'm gonna put this in there. I have my fancy little oil thing that is the guy I rent from. He owns this, I guess it was his dad's. We'll put a little dab on there. It shouldn't need a whole lot of lubrication. They're not huge holes. We're not going through a thick material. So. This does come with a super fancy laser that I would never use or trust, but it's there. Okay. Throw some ear pro on. Okay, so hole number one, super simple. I'll probably speed through the rest of them because it's kind of boring. Okay, we're using a Milwaukee M18 drill. Got this thing for a hot minute. We're gonna drill 1/2 inch holes for the table to the tabletop to be attached to the legs. It might only be like a 3/8 inch bolt, but I want there to be a little bit of play because playing with the wood and the steel sometimes doesn't mesh up super well. So I'm gonna put some weight on there and we're just gonna drill these out real quick. This is the top bar that we have. It's 20 inches long. Just about. All right, so we want to come in 4 inches from each side. So 28 minus 4 is going to be right at the 24 inch mark. And then over there at 4 inches. So to mark this out, it's pretty basic. You find your 4 inch line. You want to, I mean, it's nice to get closer to center than not, but that'll do it. So we know it's there. Now we can go to the tape. Where's the USD? All right, so we're at the other side. We mark it. Now we have this set at 4 inches. So from this side to this side is 4 inches, which is the same as a flat bar. We just measure in 2 inches. Pretty basic. Now that's where we're going to put our center punch mark, and that's where we'll drill our 1/2 inch hole. So we know it's a 1/2 inch hole. Okay, so we'll center punch these, and then we can drill it out. This is a Brent Bailey center punch. It's a cute little, almost too cute thing. Now, that's a center punch mark. We're using maybe a 1/2 inch, maybe a 1 pound hammer. If you jump up to a 4 pound hammer, I'm pretty sure this is a 4 pound. Helps to mark it. You could eyeball this, it's not super important again, but who wants to be that far off? So a 4 pound hammer gives a lot more of a mark for you to see and for your drill bit to not walk out of. So that's something to keep in mind. Now we're ready to drill. Back to the drill press. All right, we got a chuck here. Nice to have this on a cable or something. We don't have it on a cable. So brake torque in this little thing. Take our 5/16 out. That always helps. All right, now our 1/2 inch goes in here. And the 1/2 inch is a little bit bigger, so you do want to make sure that wherever you're coming down, you're not going to be going straight through your table, because no one likes that. Now that's probably not enough clearance, so loosen this up just a touch, let it drop a hair, and then retighten it. When you move this table, make sure, again, you have clearance. Alright, pretty good with that. I'll do this one. Little dab of fluid, that's all you need. There you have it. So our holes line up, and now we have our 2 tops for these legs. All right, so here are the base plates for our cross member. This one's pretty much done. We'll wipe some of the grease off a little bit, but for the most part, we're just gonna weld it on there. This one has pretty sharp edges. This line could be a little bit neater, and it's got a little bit of surface rust on there. So we're gonna touch it up a little bit, and then we can weld it all together. There you go. Now they're about the same. We can weld it to our cross member. All right, now we've welded that, and nothing too fancy is going on here. The welds are pretty simple. They're just a little vertical that passes and 1 horizontal pass. But what you do want to take note is that right there, that gap, doesn't really need to be welded. These 2 welds are more than enough structural reinforcement to keep that base plate on there. But because our tolerance wasn't as tight when we were making this, we will have to weld that and then sand it smooth, which is just more time and labor going into your product. So try to avoid that when possible. Together. It'll need a little bit of cleanup, but these should thread straight in there. Should be cool enough by now. See what lines up. That one threads in. The other side, the other legs are still hot, so I'm not gonna put those in right now. But this will give you a good idea of what I'm talking about. I totally am. Oh, what am I? biting. And that's biting. Alright. So put those on, crank those down. So the recessed nuts that are integral to this, they work out pretty well. You can see here, we have a pretty solid connection. It gives it a lot of stability. Doesn't really want to, you know, it's definitely more stable. We get the top across. This will have several points of contact. When it comes to squareness, this right here could flex a little bit if you had uneven flooring, but for the most part, once you bolt up into this, it's gonna be fine. I'm going to throw my compressor into gear, and then I have a little pneumatic. Maybe I can grab it real quick, should I? Okay, this will need a new pad, but this is a pneumatic sander. It has a 6-inch sanding pad, and it can reciprocate. Either it can spin or it can kind of sort of vibrate. It's based on how much you're engaging right here. This piece can either be locked into place or be free spinning. And so we'll use that. We'll clean up a little bit here and there, just so it'll be ready for paint. Might touch up the Scotch-Brite a little bit too, but for the most part, it's done. So, yep. I bought some stuff from MSC, MSC Direct. I don't really know what that stands for, but I did buy some stuff for this project and for some other stuff. Okay, this is a general tap wrench, 6mm, 12mm. It'll make sense in a second while we got it. I have one of these somewhere, but it's not as nice. And I got some spin lock bolts. These are just, they have basically a flange and then sort of these little ridges there so that they lock themselves into place. It's a box of 50, I think. Yeah, 50 pack, 3/8 by 16. I bought these for my projects, and I'll probably give some to my buddy who has this table project, but these are pretty cool. These are brass. You drill a 1/2-inch hole in the piece of wood, and then using a screwdriver or anything that you feel comfortable with, you thread this into the wood, and then these thread straight into there. And just like that, you have a way to attach these legs all of a sudden into the wood. Also, look at all this fun machining. It's really pretty. These threads are also super fine, which is interesting. Yeah, it's crazy there. Okay, so what else do we get? Cool. These are the knobs. These go to my other project. There should have been 2 of these. there isn't. That's less cool. This is 3/16 by, or 3/8 by 16 again. I'm gonna have to ask them why there aren't two of them. This also would fit into this, but that's not what it's for. That would be weird. This is knurling. It's pretty basic. Okay, so we don't have all of these. There should be 2 of these or 4 of them, I can't remember, but we did get 2 taps. Only need 1 of these, whatever. Obviously everything else we bought was 3/8 by 16. This is 3/8 by 16 as well. This is the same thread pitch as that, as you can see. Made in India. And now we can tap 3/8 by hand. We have these 2, you can just shove into a drill. I didn't get that one. I didn't trust myself with the drill option, but yeah, that's what we got.